What's up everyone, welcome back to ARTV. My name is John. It's time for a review of the debut album by the teaming up of three big important people in the world of music. We've got Jarrod Alonge, the meme-loving, chode-zilla creating person himself, and of course Lauren Babic on vocals, you might know her for other projects, and Patty Walters on bass here from As It Is. The debut album is titled Burning Alive. It's by CrazyEightyEight, a name inspiration for the band that of course came from Kill Bill. Kill Bill isn't where it stops with CrazyEightyEight. They of course are inspired by movies because Lauren and Jarrod in particular especially are huge movie buffs. I cannot profess to be on their level by any means, especially not on Jarrod's level, so don't expect this to be a breakdown and analysis of every reference and every song title in the album. So CrazyEightyEight started out as a collaboration between just Lauren Babic and Jarrod Alonge. They both had pretty strong YouTube followings and they came to be mutual friends that way. They began to write songs together over messages, sending texts and emails back and forth, piecing together songs, and that can be kind of risky, kind of hit or miss, because it's like, are we really capturing the energy here? But it was clear that they were onto something with the release of their EP and many of their successful covers. They started to make a name for themselves, and they put out Shinebox as the lead single earlier in 2018 as the lead single to kick off their Kickstarter campaign to fund their debut album. Along with the Kickstarter announcement also came the revelation that Patty Walters had joined the band on bass, complementing Jarrod Alonge's guitar skills and Lauren Babic on vocals. After feeling lukewarm about their EP and some of the covers that they had put out up to that point, I heard Shinebox and felt a lot more confident immediately. It's a well done track, well produced, well played, a great hook on it, and the outro to the song is just ear candy to me. It's something that's very addicting and it had a replayability and it kept me coming back, and I was interested to see what could they do for a full-length album that was really going to make people pay attention. Jarrod and Lauren made it abundantly clear that CrazyEightyEight isn't meant to be a groundbreaking project in most ways. In fact, it was meant to be a love letter to the 2000s, to the music that raised them, and that's something that obviously Patty, Lauren, and Jarrod all have an affinity for. They show their affection on these 14 songs here, and I'm hearing the likes of Under Oath, Hailstorm, and Paramore influencing them. I know that sounds like a wide range, and we'll get to that more later, but I do think that Under Oath were one of the biggest influences on them. Knowing what a big fan Jarrod is of the band and the other two members as well, it seems like Define the Great Line is probably the biggest influence that I could say that this album feels like it has. Burning Alive has some of those ambient interludes, and I also hear the obvious aggressive tendencies that Lauren Babic has. She's a very talented vocalist, and I like the screams. At times, the mixing does feel a bit too compressed, like the songs aren't necessarily unleashing to their full potential, like I just feel like they should be ripping a little bit harder, but overall, it's a rather small complaint the majority of the time. After months of anticipation, the band finally dropped Nitroglycerin and Tears and Rain as a double single just before the album's official release. This absolutely got me stoked because I heard these two songs and I was kind of floored by the quality, to be quite honest. I'm not exactly sure what I was expecting to follow Shinebox, but I can confidently say that these are probably the two best songs on the album. Nitroglycerin really grabs you by the throat. It has these throttling bass tones and a very loud, kind of out of control, menacing guitar presence to it. And Lauren Babic just feels like a badass behind the vocals on this one. She soars to life here, and that roaring presence just doesn't let up for the entire song. There is one part where it does get a little bit slow, but that's also another thing that makes this work so well. I love the fact that it breaks down to just Lauren's vocals with a little bit of processing done to them. She sings "I Found the Answer" before the drums and the guitars crash back in. It's such a well done and well timed breakdown that this song absolutely earns every second of its runtime. I Am Tetsuo has a great infectious guitar presence to it. I really like that right off the bat it just kind of throttles you with that. And then Lauren on the hook of this song absolutely sells it. And while I can't necessarily say that I'm in love with this, I wouldn't call it like among the best of the year, I also have to say that they've grown so much, and a song like this shows exactly how they've done it. Something in me gets stirred deep within as I hear Moloko Plus, which is another top tier favorite of mine on Burning Alive. This track absolutely has so much quality packed into it, and the guitars here, the way that they just go from being a little bit heavier to balancing it out with a nice steady riffing progression. It actually feels like it's something that I could be listening to a year from now without question. I also have a lot of other favorites that are scattered throughout the track listing, but I will say that towards the end of this project, it gets a little bit more tedious. I would say with Hannah, a slower track that definitely showcases some nice things vocally as far as what Lauren is capable of, we move from that, which feels like it runs for a little bit too long, into You Were Right, which definitely has some gripping drums and some great guitars and ideas. Another one of my favorites, I would say, overall, but we move from that and a little bit of an extended outro that maybe drags its feet a bit into the track Ian Hates Gretchin, which feels like it could be played on Radio Rock. This is the track that reminded me of Hailstorm, and I'm not exactly sure how I feel about that comparison. It's not a bad song by any means, I just also would not be surprised if I flipped on like SiriusXM Octane and heard this song there. We closed out on the back-to-back combo 300 Pages and Interlude and then My Friends You Bow to No One. The former of those 300 Pages, feeling like it drags its feet a bit, it honestly reminds me a whole lot in its tone of like an interlude that I heard on I think a rap or hip-hop record this year. I'm not sure. If anybody can put their finger on that and help me identify, please tell me, because I'm going crazy trying to figure it out. By the time My Friends You Bow to No One finally kicks in, I just don't know. I feel like I've had some sort of presence sucked out of me, like I'm a bit out of the experience at that point and I was ready for the album to end. I don't think that the album is necessarily too long, it's just that I feel I should be a little bit more interested in and entertained by My Friends You Bow to No One. And with it being 6 minutes and not offering a ton to the material and the formula overall, it just feels a little bit stale, and that's an unfortunate back-to-back note to close on. Overall, for me, this is something that I definitely wouldn't consider a letdown. In fact, it actually exceeded my expectations in some ways. I think there's a good handful of very solid tracks here, although it is a bit spotty in places, and it definitely feels like it slows down and loses its momentum occasionally. I think it's a good debut though, and I would be interested to see what can they do to build on this. For me personally, I am giving this a 3.5 out of 5. Check out my favorites and least favorites in the description down below, along with more information about the record. And other than that, please drop a like on the video and subscribe to the channel. If you would like to support me on Patreon to help reviews like this keep coming on a monthly basis, then please visit the annotation in the corner of the screen or else click the top link down below. I also have merch available. It is in the merch shelf below this video. If you would like to see another recent review that I did on the channel, then please tap here or catch up on my year-end countdowns right over here. Socials in the description, and I'll see you soon for more on ARTV.